Oh, no way. What are you doing? You're literally driving right into it. What are you doing? What is this person doing? You're driving into the creek? No. Stop. No. Okay, that got bad very quickly. Should we go down there and help? So, good news, the girl is okay. She is out of...
The girl was okay. We had to switch it up for Don.
She is okay. That is the important part. Her car...
Yes, she is okay.
On a pole?
Don is very annoyed at our girl driving intro videos.
You know who else is annoyed?
Oh.
The 1/4% of women that stopped watching us over the last year.
Yeah, we used to have like a 50-50. It was like 60-40. Now it's like 80.
In 2023, 35% of our viewers were female. So far in 2024, it's less than 25%.
Ain't gonna do.
Can't win them all.
It's funny, like we were talking in the group chat earlier. We're like, what are we going to talk about tonight? Like, we didn't even know what we were going to talk about. Mondays are hard, man, because Mondays are typically slow news days.
For real.
Should we tell Margo's story?
No.
Some guy was flirting with Margo tonight on Twitter, and I thought I was playing matchmaker because it was in my thread. And Margo goes, the guy's not even Catholic. And we ask, why aren't you Catholic? The guy goes, I have to read it. This is sick.
Some charismatic online preacher.
Oh, man, this guy. Okay, so he wrote, Margo, I've been in the company of angels. They have given me instructions, guidance, and comfort. I have had conversations with the Trinity. Never once have they told me to be Catholic, ever. I wrote, and just like that, Margo's suitor turned out to be a loon. Oh, man, you got to love when people claim to have spoken with the Trinity.
Weirdo.
Bizarre.
Weird guy.
I don't doubt he spoke with angels, but they just weren't the angelic kind.
They were fallen angels, right?
Yeah. That or he's on too many shrooms. He's talking to some figure on the wall.
Man, my sister was over last night, and my wife reminded me of when my son was in elementary school.
Oh, we're just starting with all the bangers today.
We're gonna just go with all of them. my wife reminded me, my son was in elementary school. He got in trouble, and they sent him home. It might have been like kindergarten or something. And he told an Asian kid, "There's no Chinese people allowed on the Polar Express."
Or Ryan Katsu.
I don't know where he got it from, though. Like, I don't know if he saw the Polar Express and said, "This is just
there's just no Asians here."
There's just no Chinese people in the Polar Express. I don't know.
Oh, man.
All right, so we had to do a Monday night show because Nick, you're leaving, aren't you?
Well, actually, I don't know. It's kind of up in there. I'll find out hopefully by tomorrow. But if not, I'll literally text you both tomorrow and I'll be like, actually, never mind. I'm staying for longer than I thought.
Why? What happened?
Oh, so yeah, for those of you guys who don't know or don't follow me on social media, my grandfather finally today, this is the day we had his funeral. He died early in late April.
Second, I thought you were going to say my grandfather finally passed away or something.
He passed away. He passed away early April, I think actually was. I forget entirely what the day was. It was really beautiful time though, in the sense that I finally got to go over and kind of just have the man-to-man, one-to-one talk, right there by his bedside. It was very beautiful. Heart-moving expression or, experience. But post that, of course, kind of going through all of the legal stuff with the selling of his estate and then moving my grandmother into, basically hospice care, it's just kind of a whole lot on the family. And so kind of just trying to be responsible as a good son and help out as best I can. So that's why things are a little bit up in the air at the moment.
You might do it at a later date, you think?
Yeah, I might take my trips at a later. I'm still going up on the May. Any of you guys who are out there who live in Kansas or a nearby state or just crazy enough to drive all the way over to Kansas, I'll be in St. Mary's, Kansas on May 25th at the Immaculata for a conditional confirmation with Bishop Tissier de Malaray. And so if you guys want to go to that, I'm sure it'll be probably streamed on their YouTube channel. But if you guys want to come and say hi, hey, come on over.
Rob and I were asked to speak at a conference in February in Charlotte. Do we know the name of the conference, Rob?
Let me look through my text.
Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yeah, Charlotte, North
Yes.
South Carolina or North Carolina?
It's North Carolina. Well, There is both, but I'm pretty sure like the city is Charlotte, North
The
Carolina.
big one.
Yeah, the
Okay.
big one.
Yeah, I guess North Carolina. Yeah, so that's in February. It's looking like we're both going to that. That'll be fun. We could do like an A/B meetup at that. If anybody's on the East Coast and wants to come and hang out and meet me and Rob. Yeah, they wanted some very fine people to speak. There's fine people on both sides. I get it. Oh, right. Is this going to be like a Unite the Right rally that we're going to, Rob? I didn't even get the joke at first, Don. I'm sorry.
Oh, that is amazing. So it is going to be the 15th annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas.
Oh, no broads. I like it.
No broads.
No broads. It's going to be all men.
No broads, no Asians on the Polar Express. What a show!
Trying to get rid of the last 22% of the women who watch.
If Avoiding Babylon is canceled tonight, we all know why.
Yes, Anthony's son.
Anthony's son. Anthony's son's his son.
Of all the people, I wouldn't have put money on him.
Oh man! All right, so we got stories today. We got stories.
Do we?
We got Strickland's letter. We have some from the other day that I think we should do the call for Pope Francis to resign.
Yeah, that was an interesting article.
Let's go through that article, and I'd like to hear you guys' opinion on this, because I don't know how I feel about these letters. And I like all the people that signed it. It's not a critique of them. I understand the impulse, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about all these letters. Like, how many of these letters have we gotten?
It's got to be the third.
Good dozen or something.
So, all right, let's run through it. Call for resignation of Pope Francis. All right. Since 2013, the words and actions of Pope Francis have caused an unprecedented crisis in the Catholic Church and have done great. Not a church drama channel. Well, we're gonna.
Oh man,
we're a little hypocritical. All right, guys. We're trying to just touch on.
Would you really call this drama, though? I would say this is analysis. Just the way you look at it, you know?
Yeah, okay. I like that, Nick. This is why we have you here.
Get out of here, Sean.
So, since 2013, the words and actions of Pope Francis have caused an unprecedented crisis in the Catholic Church and have done great harm to the Church and the whole world. The members of the hierarchy of the Church have a duty to act in order to prevent Francis from causing further harm. We therefore call for Pope Francis to resign the papal office and to repent and do penance for his actions. If he does not do this, we request that the cardinals and bishops of the Catholic Church ask Pope Francis to resign the office of Pope. If he refuses to resign or recant the heresies that he has upheld, we ask that they declare that he has lost his papal office. Okay, so I don't even think we have to go through the stuff. Like, this is... They've done the heresies of Pope Francis thing before, right? They've done all this.
Lofton even signed that one.
Yeah, that's right. The original.
In 2019.
But even that, right? That Lofton signed it. Like how could you imagine thinking oh, we're gonna sign this thing? It would be such a weird thing for me to sign.
Yeah, we'd never sign it. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that they would never let us. Because I saw Dr. K put out something like they are accepting more signatures, but you got to send them your name and credentials and stuff like that, and then they not accept. I almost wanted to be like Anthony Abate, credentials, high school dropout.
You saw the ordinariate priest passed away this week, right?
Yeah.
Starts with an H, I forget, but yeah.
I forgot his name, but I was watching all of these
or something like that.
Well, I was watching all these highly esteemed people speak so highly of him, and they were like, he was a master of wit, he was a scholar, and this and that. And I'm like, man, if I died, not one person would say any of those things about me.
He founded
he sure did hate channel. Those broads.
Like there would not
He
be
did the worst
one
Chinese and Australian accents I've ever heard.
ever. Yeah, it's like what would they say about me if I passed, man? Holy cow!
I've never seen someone smoke so many cigars in an hour.
Dang. Oh, funny.
Yeah. So now the thing is, the people that signed, like, I have respect for everybody that signed it. I just don't know what they're going to accomplish with it.
Remember, like,
Yeah.
I'm against kind of the whole notion, I guess. I mean, and I don't mean like I disagree with what they're putting forth, because I do, but we're not a democracy. You know, the Catholic Church is not a democracy. So a petition just seems so liberal and democratic.
Yeah, it's like they're not going to accomplish anything with it, and it kind of outs them as thinking Francis has lost his office, right? I mean,
And maybe he has, but I just,
Yeah.
it's not because of a petition.
I think the key phrase that in the whole, I mean, so if you guys want to go read the whole document and stuff for the viewers, it's pretty interesting. But I think the interesting line that you see their point in it is actually the line that we finished with, which was like, if they find that, you know, they being the cardinals, if they find that he's committed these heresies, right, if he doesn't repent from them, then let's just say he's lost papal office. The really hard thing, and I just hate this, I hate to break it to people, but like this whole discussion of like, can a pope be a heretic? If he can, who removes him? Is it Christ or is it the church? It's all in the realm of disputed questions. Like nobody knows the answer. And unfortunately, it's going to take a pope in the future, either in an ecumenical council or a solemn, you know, definitive judgment, who's going to come out and say, this is what happens. Like we have theories, and there's good theologians on both sides of those theories, but they're just theories. Yeah. So what does it accomplish? I think it, you know, at best, it accomplishes just exposing more people, and maybe down the line, these summaries will be used for a trial. You know, maybe after Pope Francis has passed. In the immediate sense of the term, it's doesn't really do much aside from what we know.
I think the one good thing it does, so one, it lists all these potential heresies, right? And I think a lot of people who are interested in this stuff already know that, but like the part that I thought was good was the summary of all the support he's given to sexual abusers and those who have covered it up. Like I knew some of it, but I bet if you printed it, there's probably 5 or 6 full pages of sexual abusers and those who have covered it up that he has promoted and supported. And that's just, I think people do deserve to know that.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Has there ever been a pope that was deposed and removed from office?
There's debates on, you know, like
Julius, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like, so there's a few popes that people would say not gotten deposed in the sense that the church was just like, "Oh, right, you're out of here, goodbye, you're fired." But rather there were, like, for instance, with Honorius, it's the famous debate: was Honorius a heretic or not? Right.
Right.
There's theologians on both sides of that debate. Here's what we do know: 400 years of popes after that. Right, every single pope in that 400-year sequence condemned him as a heretic, you know. But yet there's still theologians even after that point who say he wasn't. Prominent theologians like St. Robert Bellarmine. So the thing is, it's never happened, and no one knows how it would happen. There's good arguments for both sides, but I mean, again, it's going to take.
Well, the thing is, I think if you're dealing in the realm of hypotheticals, but I don't think we have a set of cardinals that would be brave enough to depose the Pope.
Oh, I agree for sure.
Like, there's not a set of cardinals that would be brave enough to actually say, like, we were all promised by Burke that we were going to get fraternal correction. That never came, right? And in theory, I think if a dozen or so cardinals got together and said, "Hey, these are our issues," you got, like, I think if they did do that in a group, I don't think it would actually accomplish deposing the Pope and putting him on trial. What I think it might do is put pressure on the Pope to back up, like to maybe backtrack a little bit on some of the things he's done. Like you saw that with the bishops in Africa. You saw when they all stood together and said, "No, we're not going to stand for this."
Yeah,
that they actually accomplished something, right? Like, why wasn't it the bishops of the world doing what the African bishops did? Because they kind of got to write that off as it was just a cultural thing instead of a matter of truth.
Yeah, for sure. The tough thing is, it's like, let's just say hypothetically that every single bishop was like Cardinal Burke, and they were like, all right, we're gonna get together and depose the Pope. The issue with that, though, is it's like the idea of like cardinals deposing the Pope gets unsettlingly near the heresy of conciliarism, which
Yeah.
was a 14th century heresy that was condemned by the church. On the flip side of it, though, there is loopholes around it, so you can avoid that theory. But then, if you believe, like for instance, that a pope, if he says a heresy, loses his office, then are the sedes right? And then basically, I think you run up against Vatican I at that point. It's a tough
Mhm.
situation. That's why I really think, for us, lady, the best thing is like, I go back and forth between like the medieval peasant view and like the go and storm the world view. And I think that there's a room for a little bit of both, if you will, depend on kind of like where you're at and who you are. But for a lot of us, lady, I really do think the best thing is just to find like a solid parish. And like Taylor Marshall said, Taylor Marshall answered a comment I put up on one of his last streams. And he was like, yeah, pretty much whoever the Pope is going to be next after Francis, liberal, conservative, doesn't really matter. They're going to open up the Latin Mass again because it was just such an unpopular opinion. And once the Latin Mass is free again, the whole, ball's going to be
Mhm.
rolling.
Yeah, I don't. Oh man, I mean, this goes back into conversations we've had recently, even with the AP article that was released, because there's a video that goes along with that. We were going to go on Saturday, me, Nick, and Tim Flanders, and discuss that, because there was a video that went along with it, and we didn't have a chance to do that because I got done with work too late. But
You literally had to be a medieval peasant help building a castle.
I paved the driveway of a castle on Saturday. But
Wild.
yeah, it just goes to that whole when this group dies off, like what comes next. Because I'll be honest, I've never been. I'm not mad about fiducia supplicans. I'm not mad about all the things they even listed in that letter. I am the angriest at the church of their approach to how to discuss the faith with young men.
Yeah.
Like, that is my biggest issue with the church right now. Like, I'm listening to these conversations online that people are having, and I'm looking at these young men getting pulled towards the red pill, and I'm listening to, and it's like, I've never seen the church be more irrelevant to a conversation. They're talking about bringing women deaconesses in. They're talking about like feminizing the liturgy more than they already have. And then I'm watching these young men who are so disgusted with feminism that they're willing to go to Islam.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, where is the church, man? Like, it's the same thing that happened during the council when the sexual revolution was happening, and the church had this duty to get up and preach the truth to the culture, and they just took a back seat and they participated in it. And it's the scariest thing in the world to me, because I don't see how the church is going to draw young men in when we have a bunch of hippies that are still in the hierarchy.
Yeah, I think what I call cosplay Catholicism, which is what a lot of places are, that will don on all the vestments and have the outer fixtures of the faith, but don't actually hold the faith. I think that will die off. But you're absolutely right. I actually have a video coming out, hopefully within like 3 or 4 weeks. It's an interesting video. I've never done a video like this before, but I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. It's 20 dudes, 20 guys, right? All my age, roughly around that, right? And it's them giving their stories, all in like a more dramatic feature, about how the church has failed young men in their appeals, and how at the moment, right, they feel completely lost. They're all practicing Catholics, they're all good dudes, but all of us are in the same agreement, whether it's the realm of the dating world, whether it's the realm of just like, hey, young men, why don't we talk to you more about than just like avoid pornography, right? That's of course important, but young men need so much more. They need to be taught all the virtues. They need to be encouraged and say, like, you can not only just be a saint, but you can actually help revive this church and bring it into, the 22nd century or something to that effect. But that's not what's going on.
We're in a situation now where it's even how I feel about politics. Like, we have to be thinking in terms like our ancestors did when they built cathedrals. We have to start thinking the long game. We have to stop thinking about this next election. We have to stop thinking about the next conclave even. We have to start thinking in terms of, okay, how can we build small like communities of even of tradition, things like that, but ways to talk to young men to teach them to be leaders of homes, right? And also to inspire women to understand that, look, when we talk about wifely submission, stop looking at that like it's a dirty word. It's not about mutual submission. It's just not. It is about wifely submission to her husband, but that has to be presented in a way where they understand it's actually for their own good. Like, there's nothing that my wife is happier about than the fact that she can submit to a man who cares about her soul more than anything else. It's almost like a relief for her that she doesn't have to worry about all these other things. She leaves the catechesis to me. She gets to leave a lot of things to me, and I'm going to be the one that's responsible for it, right? So the idea that when I hear everybody talking about this stuff, I'm just like, why are we talking about this the way we are? The church is supposed to be training young men to be men, and training young ladies to have humility and accept their role. Like, I don't know how we fix this whole mess, man. It's just so bad, and the church is just dead silent on all of it.
Yeah. What do you think are like the top, if you had to give like maybe just three, like top three things that the church needs to focus on teaching young men? Like life lessons or whatever you think.
Willingness to suffer and sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, you could go the priest, prophet, king route of your own home, you know, things like that. But I'm more worried about the black pill young men are facing right now when it comes to women, because I even see some of these young Gen Z guys, even listening to Fuentes, and he's like, I understand where these guys are coming from. They're just fed up. Like, they're just like, I just have no patience for women. I mean, I've talked to a lot of young guys that are in the dating world, including you, Nick. I won't say some of the conversations we've had, but just it's a very daunting thing to be a young guy and have the young women who are just so infected by and look, it's not even just with young women. Like, we're infected by feminism. So I've seen conversations go where young guys are like, I want a trad wife who's going to stay home and raise the kids. So then a woman will go, okay, I want that. I want to stay home while you earn a living. And the guy's like, what do you mean? You're just a gold digger. You just want me to provide for you? Like, they're all so mixed up. Yeah. They don't know what to do, man. It's so it's so sick, man. It's like, and this will actually lead into a conversation. Rob and I got a text today from somebody who watches the show asking us like advice for parents that have young girls, like what to do. I mean, should we jump into that, Rob?
We could do that. I have it pulled up here. I could read it.
Yeah, go ahead. Read it. We won't say names. We told her we wouldn't say names.
Let's see. So she says, I would love hearing your opinions on forming the faith in our families. I've been pondering lately how to best encourage and prepare my daughters, who are 12 and 13, who aim for a life of marriage and family. When they tell friends and family that they want to be wives and mothers, they're getting the typical response from grandparents that they should go to college, etc. And I know teachers at their school talk about preparing the kids for college. My girls don't back down from what they want and just let it roll off their shoulders, but I'm wondering what we as parents should encourage them to prepare for in the meantime, since it might not be the case that they get married right out of high school. How do we encourage them to continue education at a local community college after high school, taking a class here and there that interests them, or a class that helps with household management and daily tasks, like home economic stuff? Do we encourage a job until they get married? Encouraging involvement in church activities seems like a good idea. Would love to hear you guys toss this topic around.
Oh man, this is a so I've had this conversation before, right? Where I had the argument with my in-laws because when they asked my daughter what she wanted to be, she was like, I want to be a mom. Like, I want to have a family. Like, I think, like, I've talked to my daughters about this, and it's like, okay, look, if you guys want to, because obviously you're not getting married right out of high school. It's not, you know, we're in a different time than that. If you're going to look to do something, why don't you look to do something that would be something you could do from home? You know, like, prepare yourself to do something where if you maybe could do something from home where you could stay home with your children and maybe assist your husband if he needs a little help, because it is going to be extremely difficult in this modern age to meet someone and be able to provide for a family. So maybe that could involve being like a beautician or something like that, where like my sister stays home with her kids and she has like a little salon in her house. And she, you know, she just has women come to the house and she does their hair while the baby's sleeping.
Because it wasn't really traditional for women to not work.
Yeah.
It was not traditional for them to work outside of the home.
Outside of the home.
They were in charge of the home economy, which usually was some sort of business or service that household provided.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my wife does photography, right? So she's doing infant photo shoots and things like that. It doesn't interfere with her caring for the home. She doesn't, you know, it's kind of, it's more of a hobby than a job. But
I think one of the biggest things we as parents can do to encourage that is just make it really well known to them that they're welcome to stay as long as they need to after high school.
Yeah, especially, no need for them to girls, leave.
Especially women, yeah.
Yeah, especially your girls. So Matt says, oh, sorry, hit the wrong one. Matt said people should get married right out of high school. So I'm a big proponent of that. And the reason I say that is because I think when you meet somebody later in life, not that it can't work, but there's something about meeting somebody later in life and them not knowing you and all your little quirks and all your weirdness, and then you wind up moving in together and starting a family at 30 or 35 or something. I'm not saying, obviously I know many people that have done this, but what I just think if it's possible to encourage a young marriage, that doesn't, it's because I know when me and my wife hit hard times, we had a foundation because we had been together since we were teenagers, that when the hard times came, it was like, all right, we'll make it through this. You know, we're not going to just back out on this whole thing just because we hit a little bit of a rough patch, you know?
Yeah. What came to mind whenever I heard the question was actually St. Paul in two of his epistles. I believe it's 1 Timothy 5 and Titus chapter 2. He gives basically a short summary of what young men and young women, old men and old women need to do in the faith. So if people are really interested in just going and checking out St. Paul in those sections, go read those chapters. But just a couple of things off the top of my head. St. Paul talks about how young men need to be chaste, sober, right? Meaning like seriously minded. So not, goof offs who are just like pursuing useless dead end things like, things that aren't profitable. They also need to treat all younger women like sisters in the faith, older women as mothers in faith, etc. Older men are supposed to pass this on. For younger women, they're supposed to be chaste. It specifically says keepers at home, those who love their husbands and take care of the children, and that the older women are supposed to model this to the younger women. All of this, I think, is obviously lost in modern society. I think practically, though, it's like if you're a good parent and you're in that situation, model that relationship if you're married, right, to your children. And if unfortunately you're in a serious situation where you're split up, still strive to model it your absolute best and keep your children away from things that are harmful for them. So yeah, Proverbs 31, Miss Homemaker, Proverbs 31 is a great, I would say, it's the bar, right? It's kind of like the ideal of what a woman should be, right? In the same way that I would say Ephesians 5, which is the famous passage about, holy matrimony that St. Paul gives. It's kind of the litmus test for men, I would say. Yeah. So go and model, like look at what these passages of scripture say and then model your life after them.
So I always worry that when we talk about this stuff, Margo is going to take it personally and stuff. But Margo, you got to realize we're talking to people who have kids and, they're, wondering what they should encourage their kids to do. The thing is, it's not too late. You never know what God has in store for you. It's not like your life is over. And some people are just, I know a lot of men your age that are not married.
It's not your fault, Margo. It's like I'm 25, I'm not married, but the amount of unmarried people has gotten so high. And I think there's like so many reasons for it, like bad families. I think a lot of guys fall into like doom scrolling and pornography. And so they just spend their time as like chronic online people. And so they suffer from that. Women can do that, of course, too. So yeah, like don't blame yourself, blame society, but always strive to become a better and better person. Always ask the Lord, right, to lead you and guide you. Yeah, Sean, 22, unmarried. It's so over. So true, King. I'm done. I'm 25. I'm about to turn 26 in a month. I'm done.
Well, even this, right? It's like a lot of us confuse needs with luxuries. A man can typically provide the necessities, but a lot of us need to be willing to sacrifice a lot of modern luxuries. Like I got married at 22 and I had nothing. Like I had to borrow money for my wife's engagement ring. Like I didn't even have money for an engagement ring for her. It was like we just winged it, and it was like we got an apartment, and it took years for us to get our feet on the ground. But there's something exciting about being young and not having enough money for things, and
so exciting.
It kind of is though. Like it kind of is. I'm telling you. Like
says the guy with a boat.
Anthony, would you want to be 22 with no money trying to get money for an engagement ring in Biden's economy? I'm just saying.
No, believe me, I do commiserate with what you guys are going through now. Like even
because you got married in like the 60s, right?
even my house, like I bought my house at a time. I think my neighbor's selling the house next door, and they're selling it for double what I paid for my house. So no matter how you look at it, like I got in at a good time, it's just crazy how difficult it is for people to survive and especially young people. But dude, you don't need to own a house. You could rent, and it's not the worst thing in the world. Like you just, you got to make do with what you got. It really is exciting to be young, broke, and dumb. We're eating frozen dollar store burritos. There's something.
I don't think she was being serious.
There's something, but I am. There's something like, you'll look back on that time when you're older and a little more stable, and you'll say those are the best years of your life. You just will, especially because you're young. Nobody's expecting much of you in your 20s. It's like
nowadays we're like, yeah, I got married young. I got married at 35 and had one kid. That's what it's gonna be like for whenever I'm old. Yeah, I got married young. I was 46.
Yeah, but it also is different for men and women, I guess, right? But yeah, it's just I think that we need to be giving something to offer as a counter to the red pill thing.
1,000%.
To give something, because they're preaching a gospel. Those guys. Like they're preaching a gospel. It's just it's an evil gospel. Like it's bad news, but they are preaching a gospel. They're telling these young men, do what we tell you. You go to the gym, you get yourself money, and you bag yourself 50 chicks, and this is what you got to do to better yourself. And they're promising these men something, right? Mm-hmm. And it's wicked. But we're not giving them something better that they're saying, okay, I don't want that. I want this instead. It's like we're just saying what? Like yeah, all right. Go give up doing anything fun. Go give up doing anything enjoyable for what? Well, for eternal life, but like that. Yeah. But what's that? It's just eternal life. But there's something also more satisfying about living that way, right? Yeah. There's something about when you cultivate virtue in your life that you actually do feel more fulfilled, and there's something that you can offer. Because the guys that are offering the other way, like that materialism, just leads to an emptiness in your heart. And you see that with all these celebrity conversions. The celebrities are converting because they have all the materialism and it's just not fulfilling them. They need something more.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's like what you said, Rob. Like young men have got to be trained to not be effeminate. And I say this to myself in the sense that, like what is effeminacy, as we all talk about, it's a reluctance to suffer because of some attachment to some type of pleasure. And so people could define that pleasure as food, relaxation, pornography, or not having a job, or not, just getting out of bed and doing something. Mm-hmm. And I think so much of, and so much of this, I think, is rooted in, fathers not being present, right? That's just very common nowadays. But also I would say a large amount of it, I would also attribute to moms being the main raiser of their child after the stage of being a toddler. So it's like young guys need their dads to raise them after a certain age. It's like when you're young, you need that protection, right? So mom is there, she's there for you, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And you need your mom, right, through the course of your life. But after a certain point, you need your dad to focus in on you more and teach you what it means to be a man. My dad is phenomenal. He's my best friend, and my mom and dad, of course, they're still together. I'm really lucky in that respect. But he's just taught me so much of just like even things of just how to treat, right? a lady, like I see the way he treats my mom, how he treats my sisters, things like that. I see how the way she respects him. And so it puts into my mind things like, hey, if I ever get married one day, I need to actually think about questions like, what is this girl's family like?
Yeah. Well, the
Especially
one thing I drill into my kids is how important it is to keep your family unit together. Like, it's not, I watch some people in my lives that have children and they're all concerned with career and they're all concerned with all these things of the world. And I'm just like, look, my job, like I go to work every day and it sucks. I'm up at 4 a.m. and sometimes I don't get home till 5 or 6, and I got to work Saturdays, and then I got to come and talk to you bozos twice a week. And, it's like, it's a lot, but all of those things that I do are just things I do to have the family. Like that, they're not who I am. Who I am is their father. And especially my son, I'm like, you don't understand how important your role as a man is to keep your family together. Like, that's your whole job. You keep your family together under all circumstances. Because I watched Matt Walsh talk to a divorce lawyer today. He had a conversation with that famous divorce lawyer. He was in all these red pill shows and stuff too. Mm-hmm. But one thing they didn't touch on, I wish they did. Like, I know so many couples that got divorced because they hit hard financial times. Mm-hmm. And they were more embarrassed to tell people they mismanaged their money than they were to tell people they were getting divorced.
Yeah.
Like, and there's less social stigma on somebody who gets divorced than there is on somebody who mismanaged their money. And it's like, especially in this economy, that what we're all talking about, right? It's impossible to afford anything. It's like, if you even go into bankruptcy and you lose your home, things like that, if you keep your family together, you're a hero to me, because you didn't cave to the pressure of worrying about what other people thought. You said, okay, I don't care if we got to go live in an apartment for a little while, we're keeping this thing together. Like, I know a couple that did that, and I tell them all the time, like, dude, you are a hero to me, because they lost their home. They had to move to Texas and live with his brother for a year. Then they came back. Then they finally saved up enough money to rent a place, and they rented it from a guy who said, okay, if you want, you could buy it eventually. And they wound up buying that home eventually. Like, it was like an 8-year process that they had to go through of losing everything, sticking together. And they got like 5 kids, man. Like, they stuck it together, and now they're living on a 2 acres in Pennsylvania, living the dream. Like, I'm so proud of them. And I'm godfather to one of their kids. It's like the whole idea of what we put pressure on people, because that was one of the conversations, one of the topics they were talking about, is this: there's no social pressure to keep families together anymore. Like, if things get hard, what you'll have is the girl's girlfriend's in her ear telling her, leave that guy, go do you, go start your own thing. And it's not the same for men. Men are scum if they leave the family. But for a woman, it's like, oh, you go, girl. You go be your best you, It's a very warped world we live in right now.
Yeah, I'm about to drop the status. I'm going to go change this lighting in a second, go shut my blinds. But to comment on your point, actually, I fully agree with you, because like, the father is the principal source of unity of the family. Like, we think about that in the theology world. Like, the Pope is the principal source of unity that keeps the church together. And he has kind of, if you will, the final say on what to do. I know, for real, bro. I wish I was entering the unitive way, but not so much. But yeah, it's like the father, he's the principal source of unity, and people are dying for that. I mean, think about just some like pop culture references. As you were talking, there was a couple of things that came to mind. One, think about, like, do you guys remember the old movie Hook with what was it?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, that's a funny movie. But like, the whole point of the movie, right, is that like, he needs to be a man, right? Peter needs to be a man, needs to be a dad specifically, right? He needs to be a dad. And that's like, you don't see movies like that anymore, where like being a dad is praised. 2, recently, and younger people will know this reference more, but I think it was like 2015, 2016 or something. There was a video game series that came out called The Last of Us. Very, very interesting show. They made a show off. I haven't seen the show, but I've seen both of the games.
Don't watch the show.
Probably. And I'm not endorsing these either. I know the basic gist of the story, but the basic gist of the story is essentially there's like this post-apocalyptic world, and there's this girl who was basically bitten by this infected creature, right? And she might have, but she didn't turn, and so she might have the cure, if you will, for this disease. And what ends up happening is like this dad who's lost his daughter ends up taking her across the country to basically find this medical laboratory to get her saved. But it's like this father-daughter bonding experience. People, loved it. And the third and final thing I would say is, people call me the tumbleweed Thomas for a reason. Everyone knows I'm a huge, huge fan of Westerns. I write Westerns. I watch Westerns all the time. My favorite actor is John Wayne. You look at John Wayne's most famous movie, right? 1965, The Searchers, right? The whole movie is this kind of embittered old guy, but he's chasing the Comanche across the deserts and across the snows to get his niece back, right?
Yeah.
It's like, where are these stories? And so what's cool is that we can draw back on this timeless desire of a father to protect
You forgot
his kids.
Taken with Liam Neeson.
Oh yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, Taken. You see him go across the world multiple times.
But he also
Somehow
allowed
gets
his
captured,
daughter to get taken.
Yeah, that's
his
true.
daughter was doing some shady things, and
I like
position
the first problem was letting his daughter go over with just a bunch of girlfriends. That was- like who would do that for real?
It's so funny because all my daughter's friends are talking about like going away to college and stuff, and my daughter's like, I would never go away to college. I don't want to leave you guys. Like, I want to stay at home, which I kind of feel bad for whoever she marries because she is a daddy's girl. And she, like my wife, she's very attached to and stuff. It's like,
can you imagine you being someone's father-in-law?
I'll tell you, Rob, I'm looking forward to, like whoever she meets, helping, like mentoring him into being a good father. Like I really am, because I think I'm guaranteeing whoever she ends up with is not going to have like the, okay. So I wrote I had a banger tweet this week. I made a joke. I said, Ben, you owe your wife a marital debt of 3 times a week or whatever. It was a stupid joke. I was just trying to troll people, but a couple of feminists caught it and they were like, something about like my daughter, like you have daughters. I hope you marry a man. I hope she marries a man just like you. And I said, that's like my deepest prayer is that my daughter finds and marries a man like me. And if you're not praying that for your daughters, you're not a good father, right? Like I want my daughters to meet a man that's principled, has the Catholic faith, cares about family more than anything, will never leave his wife under any condition. Like those are all things that I pray my daughter meets a man that has those principles. And I'm looking forward to whatever man she does meet, helping him to see that those are the principles that will actually make his life meaningful.
Yeah, hopefully.
I thought it was a little young for Nick, but maybe, a couple of years.
Didn't you tell us she was like 16 or something?
She's 16.
Like she's way too young.
Yeah, she's 16. Couple of years.
Plus, she's Italian, so
yeah, that's. Well, she's only. My daughter, I guess, would be like.
Does she have a New York accent?
So I'm like 75% Italian, 25% Irish, and my wife is 50% Italian, 50% German. So,
oh wow!
What would that make my kids?
Like
a lot of averages.
100% American.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're mutts. I'm not like I joke around about the Irish and the Italians, but my mom's like 50% Italian, 50% Irish.
It's actually funny.
I'm not going to show that comment, but oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
What John Benedict?
Jimmy, the John Benedict comment.
Yeah.
Grow up a little.
You can throw that up.
There's some truth to that, but
no. Hey, Jimmy Akin said so.
It's true. It's true.
You didn't say we're black. You just said we're not white.
That's true. That's true.
Oh,
it's funny that the audience bring this up. 16. How old is Nick? I'm about to turn 26.
I thought it would be hilarious if we had our Jimmy Akin argue with the real Jimmy Akin.
Oh,
bro. Yes.
I thought that would be a hilarious thing. Like have real Jimmy Akin come on and argue with our Jimmy Akin. So I sent Trent, I was like, yo, if you talk to Jimmy, tell him I'd love to do a bit where he's arguing with my friend doing an Aiken impression. I think it would be funny, but I don't know if he'd be up to poking fun at himself. He said, yeah, Magic 8 Ball says the outlook not so good.
Dang. He's black-pilled us.
I don't know. I
Black-pilled
think
on us.
I think he'll warm up to it.
He'll warm up. I mean, that's just how it is.
How
just
funny would that be to have them argue over some nonsense, right? Like just something ridiculous. Like
All the topics that we brought up were completely scholarly topics.
yeah, I think Jimmy did see it.
100% he saw it.
He definitely saw it. How do you not? How do you,
Jimmy,
you know,
if you're out there, it was a joke. You know, it's funny.
clearly
Oh, wow.
was. I mean,
Like there were some people in the comments that got so mad, and I was like, bro, this is a joke. Like this is avoiding Babylon. What do you expect?
There are a lot of very sensitive Catholics out there that don't they think that when you, especially if you like what we did there was so innocent and not offensive. I mean, it was first of all
touch on evolution.
Not like we didn't even poke fun. We talked about Jessica Rabbit and like Bigfoot and nonsense. Like it was just so not offensive, intentionally. So
here's the thing, that something doesn't have, like, if something isn't an explicit compliment, it doesn't mean it's instantly calumny. But there is a wide middle ground there, people.
And we live in a weird time where if you criticize someone that somebody likes, they take it personally. Like they think that you're attacking their family. It's a strange thing, man. Like that was just a funny gag that we did. I thought it was hilarious.
1000%.
That bit was good. Yeah. But if you look through the comments, people are like, this is in bad taste. I can't believe you guys did. It's like, you people kidding me? Like, I don't know, man. Our channel's just not.
Trust me, you would all know if we did it in bad taste.
Yeah,
there would be no question.
We had a few that we were going to ask that Ryan would not do. Ryan likes Jimmy Aiken, so Ryan wouldn't do it. Like we had a few that you want to see one of the questions I had?
Poor Rob, y'all. Everyone go and donate to their local account.
Yeah.
Please.
Gotta burn every bridge out there. Man.
Rob's got to remember, like, hey, yo, I'm getting something out of this.
All right. So one of the questions was, what high-level job do you think you could lie your way into with no experience and no one would notice?
Oh, no.
Catholic apologist.
No. Oh, no. That one I probably would have busted out laughing, not going to lie. That's pretty good. Oh, brother.
You can work it for me, but Anthony will still get half. So
I just love how when you watch that whole clip of us, you two are literally
stitches
in your sides on the floor. Anthony's as red as a tomato.
I was getting light,
like, okay,
not being able to breathe.
Nick, you played the perfect straight man for that bit. Like you just straight face, you didn't crack a smile. You were like, I'm learning a lot. I haven't learned this much since Fiducia Supplicants.
Yeah.
Very informative.
Margo doesn't know who Ryan is.
Oh, that's because Margo probably wasn't speaking to us when Ryan was a guest on our show.
It's a good point.
Margo goes through episodes where she just blocks us and doesn't talk to us.
That reminds me, I got to check with Ryan, see if he wants me to do that show tomorrow.
Ryan. All right. Should we jump to the Strickland story?
Seeing as it is the first thing in the title, we might want
it
to.
It is. Let's do the Strickland story.
If we have to.
Do we want to start with the letter from Strickland or the Mike Lewis article on Strickland?
That's a good question.
I
sent you both. I sent the Where Peter Is article and the actual thing. I think we should do the Mike Lewis article.
Yeah, I was about to say, because every time we say Mike Lewis on air, Mike Lewis shows up. That's just what happens every single time. So, Mike Lewis, this is your opportunity now to hit the chat. Send us that you're here.
No, here's the thing. He's always here. He just only types in the chat when we say his name.
I don't know. You know what it is? I would think
like Mewis.
I think
that bit never gets old.
Like Mewis. I wonder because him and I are friendly, like I think that's why he has never written an article or anything on us.
Oh, just wait.
Right? Because I mean, we've had some pretty edgy stuff on this show that I would think. I mean, he's written about Kennedy, Taylor, all those guys. I'm wondering why and part of me wants him to, because like that's like you made it. Like you got to wear Peter his article written about you, you know.
Him and Lofton, bro. They both have the same. Have you noticed they all have like the same titles? So like Lofton makes the videos and Lewis writes the articles for the people who don't watch YouTube. It's always the same. It's just like they flirt with sedevacantism.
Yeah, Rob, we
Part of
have
the
to,
Aryan Brotherhood.
Yeah,
Rob,
let's not use our initials down there.
we have
Oh,
to
brother.
ask at the men's conference if we have to bring torches. Are we supposed to bring torches to this men's conference?
Just show
Khakis,
up with
blue
the
shirts.
Hawaiian tiki torch.
Like where exactly does Patriot Front order their clothes from? We need to know.
Yeah, we should, dude. How funny would that be if we went down there with khakis and masks? Like, wait,
And at
we're
that
at the wrong
moment-
place.
and at
We
that
missed
Showed
moment-
up to the conference.
And at that moment, Mike Lewis decides to write an article on avoiding Babylon.
We show up to the conference with
Hey,
with
I do
Patriot
have
front
blue
outfit
eyes
on.
and my hair was blonde.
I want to see
But
I
you're
wanna-
right, they never would let a Sicilian in.
Anthony should dye
That's
his hair
true.
blonde just to troll and go to
Are
that
you
conference.
Are you kidding?
What?
I guarantee he had frosted tips back in the day.
Frosted
Prayers and
tip.
Porsches, don't feel bad. Mike's even blocked Rob.
Yeah, Anthony had to ask him to unblock me. I did
So,
deserve it. I'll say that.
All right, let's go. Let's read his article. Let's see what
Okay.
Mike Lewis has to say about Bishop Strickland.
First off, the
sure
format
it's
thing here,
charitable.
Mike, terrible.
Yeah. Bishop Strickland has used his social media once again to promote anti-Catholic cause. This time he promoted a schismatic group in his home state. In my recent article about a rumored Vatican document about discerning apparitions and supernatural phenomena, I briefly mentioned a situation in the Diocese of San Antonio, Texas, where a group called, this is really a weird format,
Yeah, I'm like,
Uh,
what is
Mission
this,
of
bro?
Divine Mercy, was suppressed by the bishop. What's going on with that?
Is
'Cause I
that
saw-
the same group with the apparitions happening?
Yeah, they live like 25 minutes from my house. I don't think they're suppressed, if memory serves. I might be behind on the news. Last I heard that the priest was suspended, but he was continuing to say mass. But I know Kennedy, he had some pretty hard, like, I wouldn't say harsh, like bad, but like a hard take that he gave when it came to it. So call them schismatic, like, bro.
Kennedy did, or
Who,
Mike?
Kennedy or
Mike
Mike?
Lewis?
No, I'm referring to Mike,
Mike
now.
Lewis, yeah.
I'm like, call them schismatic. I mean, it makes me just question, like, have you ever read a moral manual? And then two, like, why are you ambulance chasing? Like, you trying to grow your subscriber base or something? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have talked about like the apparition chasing on this channel, right? So I almost don't even look into a lot of these things.
I haven't. I purposely
Like I
started.
saw John Henry Weston interviewed them and interviewed the priest and stuff like that. And I kind of don't like to even get caught up in that stuff unless it's like,
It's like that. Kind of like that. What was the one a few years ago that had the book that was popular?
wait, what'd you say?
What was the one a few years ago that book that was popular?
An apparition that there was a book made about it?
Yeah, it was a visionary having like elocutions during adoration.
Oh, I don't know.
In Sinu Jesu.
Oh, yeah. I remember
It-
that.
Turns out the visionary was like someone accused of sexual abuse or something like that.
Dang, yeah.
Yeah, look, you don't know. First off, there's a lot of people who are just narcissists and they want to be, especially in the social media age. So
Yeah.
I'm not making a decision one way or the other. I'm just avoiding it.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather just avoid it, right? Like at this point, you know, if Our Lady really wants herself known, she'll make herself known.
She'll make the sun dance.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be something huge like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I worry about, right? Like I don't, you know, I that stuff had a negative effect on me when I was growing up. So, like, you know, you have the Trad Recovery Conference. Like, I'm kind of like a charismatic recovery. Like, I try to steer clear of that stuff. So, but I don't, you know, I at the same time, some charismatics are the most beautiful people I've ever known. I mean, it had an effect on me when I was younger, and I prefer tradition now. It's been a stability in my life that's like it's given my faith a constant where like I used to have kind of like a roller coaster ride faith where like I would leave the sacraments and I would come back to the sacraments. It's just since 2017 I've just had a nice steady even faith where I could count on all my devotions that I do, and it's just been much better, much more healthy for me. So that's not everybody, but
is like Mike Lewis's main critique in this paper that Strickland like gives his not an approval but like
Mike Lewis does a lot of guilt by association stuff. So like
1000%.
if you even are caught talking to somebody who has views that Mike Lewis doesn't agree with, he will call you schismatic adjacent things
or even if you just happen to not mention Pope Francis in your tweets over a couple of years,
the Sachin Jose,
he will accuse you of sedevacantism over that too.
He sounds like what the woke people do on a college campus, in the sense like, I mean, if he says like schismatic adjacent, that's like saying Asians are white adjacent because they benefit from white privilege as the model minority. So it's just like, what the heck are you talking about, Mike?
I saw Mike starting to use Jeremiah's phrase, the crypto sede, or the crypto schismatic. Like he's been using Jeremiah's phrase. That's Jeremiah. Jeremiah coined that one, crypto sede.
Crypto sede.
When Mike Lewis starts using your phrases, Don says, if you're the first one to stop clapping for the Pope, you're getting a Where Peter Is article written.
Everything's fine, y'all. Please bow down and worship.
Congratulations.
Hey,
man.
Cool, man.
Very cool. I don't know. Do we have to? So I actually want to hear Strickland's article because he talks about obedience, right?
Yes.
All right. All right, let's get to the bulk of it.
I think it's like right there, like right there. When we clear, okay. When we lack clear understanding of the source from whence legitimate authority flows, when obedience is in grave danger of becoming arbitrary and compromised. When this happens, the very obedience which was divinely instituted by God to point all people to truth may actually be weaponized by some to serve their own interests and to lead the unexpecting away from truth. Therefore, we must always remain in the truth and be on guard for such a deception. I assume he goes right there with that line into history. He goes into that like historical setting. I mean, obedience, that's the thing. Like, I feel like ever since I've been Catholic over the last 5 years, that subject of obedience has been debated so hotly. Like, what is true obedience? And the reality is, y'all, it really depends on like what school of thought, like literally even down to like what saint you follow. So like, yeah, I saw mention like he cites St. Thomas. St. Thomas's opinion on obedience is that like obedience is a part of the virtue of justice. So like ordinarily, like a son obeys his father, like a wife obeys the husband, etc. Right? In all just things, the husband commands something, the family does it. The father commands something, the family does it. Right? If the president commands something just, then you do it. Right? But it's to help you to become a better person, to become more just, to render what is due to another person. The whole issue, though, here is what St. Thomas also talks about, which he says that like when things are coming up that are against the faith or put the faith in danger, those who are subordinates have the right to disobey, right? Because it's better to serve God than men. So I think the thing is that it's like if we're being told, fiducia supplicans, on the one hand, it doesn't bless gay unions, but then on the other hand, like the internet's filled with all these priests now blessing gay unions. I'm sure you guys saw like the video over the weekend.
From that Chicago.
We're going to talk about that in locals after this.
Yeah, it's just like when you see stuff like that, when you see, the immemorial Roman rite being like torpedoed off the face of earth, all kinds of stuff like this, then I think there are just causes to say, hey, this is not right. You gotta say no. But I think in their warped, I would say Jesuit understanding of obedience, which is just kind of almost like an obedience in all things, then personally to me, and again, maybe this just sounds harsh, but I just think it sounds cult-like. Yeah. Just straight up cult-like.
Well, what's funny is like us as laity, like Francis has not commanded us to do anything. Like I lived my Catholic faith identically to how I would if it was a saintly pope or a whatever pope. It's the the ones who have the most difficult role right now are the priests, like,
Yeah.
because they're being told to do these blessings, they're being told to do these, and they're being told to restrict the Latin Mass. Bishops have to deal with this stuff. They're the ones who really have to struggle with this obedience question. But us as laity, there's not much that Francis has done that requires us to submit to, right? I mean, am I not submitting to Francis in something?
That's the thing. Like, I mean, the Pope Francis's base crowd recently has been talking about like the distinction and like the levels of submission that you're supposed to give to papal documents. And while like so much of what they say has been true, it's so ironic to me that it's like on the one hand, they're saying, Pope Francis based, also forgetting the fact that, Pope Francis like remits Cardinal like Rupnik, not Cardinal, but Rupnik back into the church when he's excommunicated for, sexually abusing nuns. Base Pope Francis, what is this nonsense? And so like, what has Pope Francis really told us a ton? I would say no. I think a lot of his whole theology is based off of kind of a walk through the park, and have a talk with God type of thought, as opposed to the like authoritative do this and that. If anything, Catholics who are like strict in obedience to church teaching, like, not using contraceptions, he says, they breed like rabbits and stuff like that. I mean, who says that? It sounds like the crazy lady at Walmart who blames you for having a lot of kids.
Yeah, it's weird. But okay, so I would say in terms of obedience, let's say like my bishop came to me and said, hey, you need to stop having conversations about the hierarchy. Like, would I owe him that obedience? I think I do, right? Like, if he specifically if my bishop came to me and said that to me,
I think you could make a good case. I think it would depend on maybe what specifically. If it's just like in general, I think you could make a good case for him to submit.
Let's say he says, look, I think you're sowing discord in the church, and I really think you need to stop speaking about the hierarchy. Like, I don't think he could tell me to stop doing the show, but I think he could maybe tell me, you need to stay away from certain topics because it's sowing discord amongst the faithful.
I agree. I think though
that you hear that, everyone? If you want trivia back, write to Anthony's bishop.
Oh, that's
well, you want to know what it is, man? Like, okay, so I'm not going to talk about trivia, no. Well, our parish, so me and Don were at Mass on Sunday, and we got some really good news. So our priest is retiring, and we were all like up in the air about what was going to happen with the Latin Mass. And the bishop put a priest in our parish, originally set up for a priest to come to our parish that was very like, would do the teen masses and gather everybody around the altar. Like he's well known for this kind of stuff. So the priest had written to the bishop and requested that he not be given this position. And the bishop granted it to him. And the bishop put in one of our priests that's there now. He had like a protege who like he worked with him. So the priest that's coming in, that's going to be our new like head pastor, the priest goes, so it looks like the first thing he told me is the Latin Mass will continue, and unfortunately you guys will have the same celebrant. So it's going to be the same priest. Like, our retired priest is going to come and still say the Latin Mass for us even after his retirement. Cool. So we got some really good news, and the bishop was open to allowing that to happen, and he wasn't going to stick something in, So I always want to be obedient to my bishop, because like, even when I met him at my daughter's confirmation, I was like he never did anything with TC. Like, he never did anything. Yeah. He just kind of let that. And I mean, it's funny because like, that's the standard for a good bishop these days. But like, that's the standard for me. Like, just leave me be at my parish and I'm happy, man.
It's so rough, because it's like, going to your question, like, do you owe obedience? I think you can make a good case for yes, but I'll tell you what I would do if my bishop came and said, hey, Nick, you need to shut down your channel because you're sowing discord or something like that. My immediate response to him would be, Excellency, why aren't you saying anything about this? Yeah. Why do I, as a layperson, even have to comment on this? Because normally speaking, it would be all of you
Why
guys.
am I doing your job?
Exactly.
Why am I catechizing the laity? This is supposed to be something you're doing.
Exactly. So it's like, why is it, why am I doing it? Is it just because you want to play nice with the boss and you don't want to get fired? I mean, like, look at the guy who did say something. He got canned. Look at Burke.
Well,
I mean,
I think that's the
essentially
majority
homeless.
of bishops right now, right? I think that, look, especially in the American church, like you do still, I'm not going to say conservative or traditional bishops, but I do think you have a lot of bishops who are just kind of like, they're kind of just like managers of the diocese. They don't see themselves as fathers, but they also still like, they're Catholic, right? And they kind of want to leave things that are like, if something's working, just kind of leave it. They don't want to start disrupting these Latin mass communities and stuff. They all just, I think everybody's just trying to keep their head down because they can sense this pontificate's coming to an end soon.
Yeah.
And they kind of just, Tom goes to my parish too. So, Tom, I saw you Sunday. I don't know why you didn't come outside and say hello. But yeah, we got that news Sunday. But yeah, I think a lot of them are just trying to keep their heads down for the twilight years of the Francis pontificate,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just a waiting game for so many of them because, like that. I mean, Marshall was talking about it on the show the other day, but like that pizza balla, from Jerusalem, Latin Patriarchate from Jerusalem. He thinks that he might be a good contender for the papal crown. That would be epic. I think you're right though. Whoever is going to be pope next, right? It's probably going to cause a schism, whether it's left or right, and the TLM is going to stay.
Yeah. So, hey, we talk about this every episode, but it's like it's coming to an end soon, guys. We're almost there.
Watch, like if Pizza Balla becomes pope and he just like on day one, 99% of the things is done. We'll make one episode talking about how base that is, and then we'll move on.
I still have hopes for Sarah.
You're still holding out for Sarah?
Yeah, you know why? He's just, I don't know, man. I hear the way he talks about immigration. He's just, the guy's just, he's very holy, right? I mean, I know he's a Benedict guy, but he's very holy. I think he would like really put tradition forward as much as he could.
You just want him because then you can say, hey, I'm not racist. I have a black pope.
Oh man.
I want a holy pope, man. I really do. I want a holy pope who loves the Catholic faith, who isn't trying to bend things to meet the culture. I want a holy pope who loves and is unapologetic about the Catholic faith. It's just something that I don't think we've seen in a very long time, and I think we're very due for it.
I've never seen it, period. So like when I thought about Pizza Balla becoming pope the other day, I'm not gonna lie, I had a few tears come down my eyes. I was like trying to picture myself in a scenario where it's like there's a holy pope in Rome. What? This sounds amazing. But I think
I don't know enough about him.
Well, I mean, he's the one who, I mean, you probably know this, that like he was the one who willingly offered to be taken by Hamas as a hostage and replaced for their hostages. Like, that's pretty base. From everything I've heard from people, he is at least tratty when it comes to liturgical stuff. So I'm sure that he would have no problem with the TLM. He probably would try to reform the Novus Ordo to some degree. I guarantee it. I mean, some pope is going to have to, for good or for bad, in the future. Like if we get a hyper liberal pope in the future who's young, he's going to be like, so our the Paul VI right was great, but we still got to be more progressive to get the youth today. So we're going to go to full jamboree and full guitar mass 24/7, maybe some rock and roll mass here and there.
Yeah. So Marmar says Sarah is good, but he's no traditionalist. I agree, but I also think he would be Thomas Becket figure that once he becomes pope, the office itself would weigh heavy on his soul, and he would like, I really do think that. I thought Pizza Balla was a joke. See, this is why I can't trust any of you.
I can see why you thought we were just joking. That is kind of us.
All I know is whoever the next pope is, we're gonna have to get Ryan to do a good impression of him. I want him to speak English. That's all I know.
Speak English.
So wait, now Sarah's 80 next summer. Does that mean he can't? He can still be elected pope. He just can't vote.
Yeah, you could be elected pope. Like technically, you just have to be a baptized male Catholic in the strict sense. That's
not named Anthony.
But he won't be able to vote. Yeah, like 80 is the cutoff for voting.
Yeah. My question is this, and this is totally
everybody's Pizza Balla.
Yes. Hold on. Let me find a picture of him.
I was talking to my family about him, And I was telling them like about Cardinal Pizza Ball, and my kids were like, "Stop it, stop it! That's not a real person. You're making that up, right?" And I'm like, "Nah, he's Pizza Baller. Let's go."
Pizza ball.
Oh, brother. My question is this though, like, and maybe we can talk a little bit about this on locals because you guys probably need to.
Pier Battista Pizza Balla.
That's a name, boy.
That's pretty good. My question is just this, like, one reason why I don't think that popes over the last like 20, 30, 40 years have been, really hard hitting, aside from many reasons. I think a lot of them are beholden to like the World Economic Forum and the UN to like stay in line and not preach anything against that agenda. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit more in locals, but like I'm picturing, okay, if we got like Pizza Baller or somebody in there who really rubbed that edge, what would happen in like countries to start persecuting like Catholic churches, like officially, because all of a sudden they're like, hey, yo, like there is no salvation outside the church. And like, you can't all just do a kumbaya.
Okay, this is a good conversation, and I'm excited to talk about it over on locals.
Exactly.
Because I have some theories on that. Like, I really do think that I'm so tired of the acquiescing to the ecumenism thing that I think if we don't start saying no salvation outside the church again, you're not doing anyone any favors. So let's go over to locals and we'll talk about this over there. If you guys are not subscribed to our locals channel, how are you not? That's what I want to know. I mean, who else is bringing you guys content like Avoiding Babylon?
Yeah, if you want to see me get even more mad, go to locals because I tend to pop off for some reason over there more.
Not even Jimmy Akin tells you about aliens like our Jimmy Akin does on his own Patreon. You got to come to our locals.
So we got some fun stuff coming up over on locals. Guys, come on, support us. Like, it's not even like, I don't know who. What are you guys giving to? Like
you can give to Biden or give to us.
You guys are still supporting Pints with Aquinas over us? Seriously?
Do they even talk about Aquinas on that show anymore?
Sorry, Thursday.
Come on, make the jump. Come over to our locals. It's much more fun. All right, take us out, Rob. We'll see you guys over on locals. I'm gonna get to the bottom of Nick's deep question, that the future of the church, if we got. Wait, what was the question? I forgot.